welcome back to my series on Letters from the Dark. Today we're taking a look at Volume 4, Borderlands. Now this appears to be the most popular out of the 8 that I've bought because it's currently sat at Platinum on TTRPG. So is it the best one? It seems to have the best sales. Do I think it's the best one? The thing I did notice when I had my read through, there is no new class on this one. So all 3 that I've looked at so far, the first 3, I've all got a new class, new monsters, and some new mechanics. Now, this does have a lot of new mechanics, but there's no monsters and no class, okay? So, before we get into that, as ever, let's just start on TTRPG. So, if or when you're going to pick this up, please do use my affiliate link. It does help me pay for all these. Say I bought all 8 of them with my own funds, and it just means I can then put the money that if you use my affiliate link back towards buying new things to review. I'm actually now starting to get recommendations for reviews, books that people want me to put up and purchase. So if there is anything out there that you've seen on TTRPG that you want me to take a look at, by all means just drop it down in the comments, and there's a good chance I'm probably going to pick it up at some stage, and then you can see my thoughts and feelings on it. So here we do have Letters from the Dark, Volume 4, Borderlands. Like the rest, it is available in PDF and softback, and currently at time of recording, if you pick up the softback, you can get the PDF included at the same price. This comes in at 76 pages, which is around about average, so it's one of the larger ones that we've seen so far. What does it include? It does include the maps for the VTTs, so you can use it on things like Foundry, Alchemy, Roll20. I think there was 11 maps in this one, which surprised me because I didn't think there was actually that many things they could have maps on, but I'll show you when we get into the book. So what does the book include? We've got Darling Keep, which is a randomized first level dungeon that plays differently every single time. Details on Borderlands, which is a wilderness region for the players to explore and plunder. Caverns of Cows, which is a multi-factioned dungeon filled with rival forces of chaos. Highlands and mercenary rules, details on how to build a keep, and then West Marches, which is sort of its rules for running episodic Shadowdark rules, not to be confused with the latest Kickstarter that has just finished or finished a while ago, depending on obviously when you are watching this video. Okay, so right, let's just get straight over into the book. So here we have the front cover from Borderlands, so it's by Chris Powell. Again, the ongoing theme of these, there doesn't seem to be any reference for Shadowdark, so you wouldn't know unless you do see it. Obviously, it's in the tagline for TTRPG, but if you saw the image, you wouldn't necessarily know this was a Shadowlands book. Shadowdark, you wouldn't know. You wouldn't necessarily know that this was a Shadowdark book. Okay, so let's get into the book itself. Designed and written by Chris Powell, and there's an introduction here by Rex Dangerous. Okay, so there's just your introduction. All of these books are done. They're sort of penned in a way that an adventurer has gone out, discovered something, and is writing. This is like his written notes back. So it's quite a different way of writing a book, and I like it. It have got all the hyperlinks. So that does keep me happy. Books itself, so it's got contents going through this. So the new rules, so this is for players. So hirelings, mercenaries. Hirelings are people that can just help the players. Mercenaries will fight alongside the players, and all the different rules. And there's some NPC sort of mercenaries in here. Then get into the Games Master section, which talks about philosophy, the Western Marches rules, the Borderlands, the maps of the Borderlands, Darling Keep, and then there's it's the multi sort of faction dungeon is the rest of the book here, and then it will just give you an introduction into book 5. This book really is designed for starting players, and I think really starting games masters as well. It's I can see what's popular because it's a good place to start. We're getting into spoilery bit, so let me get through the book, and then I'll sort of go through my final thoughts on it. The hirelings. So these are commoners willing to aid in adventures in return for pittance of coin. They have no combat prowess, no special skills. They'll happily look after your horse, prepare meals, nothing else. They don't really have any stats. They only come with 1 hit point. They're only going to cost you 1 gold a day. They will run away. So their whole thing is just really sort of aiding the party, helping out. You can roll a trait here, so they might be really good at cooking or has a much deeper voice than expected. So it's just a little sort of quirk really to make them seem a little bit more interesting than just a character that does nothing else. The games master is going to run the hireling, and so their goal, set up camp, do all those sort of things for you. So they're just your employer. But if they do get into too many hostile events, the players turn out to be relatively evil, they see dead bodies or shocking sights, you do have to make a morale check, and then if you don't get over a difficulty, normally 12, then they're just going to sod off and leave the party, because they're only there for the money. That's it. They're not your friend. It's their job. They're getting paid. However, mercenaries, on the other hand, these are here to help you out. They will be experienced. They come from 1st, 3rd and 5th level adventurers, and they do have skills. They have combat prowess. Their goal is to stand and fight alongside the player characters. Also, the player characters will control the mercenaries. They are restricted to only 1, though. They can't have any more than that. They are going to get paid, and they're going to get paid considerably more than the hireling. And how they get paid is here in the mercenary rates. And their shares, so each of the player characters is a share. So if you've got a party of 4 and they are a 3rd level, you're now dividing all the goods by 5. Okay, if they're only 1st level, they get a half share, technically. Okay, so you're dividing it by 4.5. And if they're up to 5th level, then you're dividing it by 7. But they are going to get 3 shares of that 7. So they're going to get almost half of what the 4 players get between them. The rules here just about how to then value the treasure. They are potentially going to run away because of danger, losing things like getting down to 1/4 of hit points, whenever they recover from dying, enter dungeons, etc. And you will then make a loyalty check based on, they will have a loyalty stat, which built in. I've just scrolled over to show where's the loyalty stat. It's I can't find it quickly. Where's it gone? Here. Yeah, here we go. The loyalty modifier, which we'll come on to. So this will determine whether they leave or run away. And you roll a d20, you get to add the charisma modifier, and then their loyalty. And depending on what they get, they might betray the party. They might just abandon. Abandoned is nice and simple. They're just going to run away. Retreat means they're going to go back to the local town or base. And then after a rest, they will rejoin the party or push forward. 12 plus, they're just going to carry on. Betrayal has got its own betrayal table here. So they might join a random group. They might deliberately break a puzzle, topple a statue. So think about the start of Raiders of the Lost Ark, when I can't think of his name. I always want to say Dr. Octopus. Dr. Xavier. Not Dr. Doc Ock, isn't it? Dr. Octopus is technically the right person. I think. Is it called Dr. Octopus? I think so. And it's that actor, I can't think of his name, sort of betrays Indy and just, runs away. So it's that sort of thing that we'll throw in there for the mercenaries. You will roll up the stats for the mercenary. I'd get the player to do it, to be honest. Obviously, as a game master, you could. It does say that you should roll up several of them. Just have them to one side before the start of adventures. And there are some pre-made ones. I'm just skipping on so you can see 1st level, 3rd level, and 5th level. So we've got 12 pre-made ones here, or you can just roll them. So, you can let the players roll it if you want to. They're in a bar, we want to look for a mercenary. Okay, get out your D6, let's find out what's there and what's available. It just, you know, brings the players into it a little bit more. And all the rules then, so it's 3 pages to do it. Probably going to take you about 2 or 3 minutes. It's not going to take long at all. That's the mercenaries. So keeps. So keeps are a safe settlement that it could be hard to find in the Borderlands, and sometimes adventurers can even make their own. So you could find keeps from being abandoned, you could find a keep from taking it over, or the players can actually build one from scratch. And the rules and details are in here to start a keep. They will have stats for how easy it is, so the fortification, so how easy it is to defend. Every day that you've got to keep, the keep potentially will be attacked, and depending on the fortification and whether the players are there or not will determine really whether the fort stays there and is, you know, for them to come back, especially if they're out. And you do, so you're going to roll a d6 at the start of every day, and if you roll a 1, enemies are going to attack it, and this then will determine whether the attack fails or the defense succeeds. And again, potentially, then if the attack does go through, there's a variety of things that are going to happen. There are different buildings that can change how easy or difficult it is for the keep to stay with the players. But yeah, it could be quite fun or annoying for your players. You know, if they're out doing something in the wilderness, they come back and their whole keep is raised. I actually quite like the thought of them coming back under siege, so it's in the middle of being attacked. You know, they're down on hit points, they're tired, they've had enough, they just want to sort of rest for the evening, and you've got that one last encounter. They've got to go and sort of protect their fort, or the fort's already taken over and they've got to sort of pull themselves up and just go for it to try, or they can just go away. You know, it's really up to them. But if you want to enhance the keep, the time limits are here for the rooms. So if you want to build a new room, to add things, you're going to have to normally build a new room first. It takes a certain amount of time. They're going to have to spend a certain amount of gold to do it. And yeah, so then they can add things like ballistas, which are going to increase their fortification, which is going to make it harder for people to attack. And you can add in things like armorers, guard stations, and things like that. Obviously, the player's going to be spending gold. Gold means less XP. They won't level as fast. It's all right. Chris has got covered. Here we are. We've got a little section here that whenever they build a new room or they're spending gold, consider giving the party XP for enhancing the build of their fort. Don't consider it. Give them it, because technically they're spending their experience, they're leveling up, doing something. So I wouldn't seek to penalise the players in that way. Now that's it. That's now players out. So we're at the point of the book where if you're a player and you're not a games master and you want your games master to buy this book, it's really time to leave. You can't watch anymore. Well, you can, but you are going to have spoilers if your games master picks up this book and then decides to run the 3 adventures actually that are in this book. Okay, so players are gone. Thank you for leaving. Well, thank you for being here and for leaving. The Games Master section then just runs through this whole philosophy of the Borderlands. So the Borderlands itself it's not really anywhere, but it's somewhere, so to speak. And so it's a place that you can put into any adventure. The book itself implies that this should be the starting level place for first level adventures. You don't have to be, but I think it's a good place to do it. So it just details then, you know, with law and order, what lawful people will be doing. You know, they'll probably go out to rescue things and, you know, heal and protect, where evil people are going to look to sort of take over and control. Because it's the Borderlands, settlements are rare and fleeting. So, you know, if they come across something, there's a good chance it's going to be abandoned. You know, things like trade is going to be difficult because it's the Borderlands. Not many people live there. So there's lots of ruins, etc. here. A safe paragraph, I would say, about not colonizing in here. I'm not sure why it's in this book. Just my thoughts personally, because it's a fantasy realm, because, you know, it just goes on. A dark pattern of human history is called colonialism, and it talks about then finally on the far side of this page, we've then got a section here about colonialism, or this game not being colonialist. And it sort of talks about the areas where there's no one really lives there, so you don't have to, or you shouldn't worry about the players taking over, sort of going into an area and sort of just sort of running it the way they want to, because there's no sort of indigenous people there. The West Marches, not to be confused by the massive recent Kickstarter for Shadowdark, just details the rules, and this is a rules sort of methodology, we could say, written by Ben Robbins here, where you've got a collective group of players that there's no sort of scheduled meeting. They come and adventure whenever they want to. They're kind of free to do wherever they want, go wherever they want to go. And you could have 10, 15 people in the party, and only sort of 4 to 6 people ever go out at any one time. And that's really the ethos behind this sort of Western Marches. It's quite a nice sort of just say, just be relaxed, role playing, do things whenever you want. Don't really have an overarching enemy. Just make it sort of go from one session to the next session and have it a bit fun, relaxed. Me? This is horrible. It's an horrific couple of pages. I need routine and planning to my sessions, and I need to know who's coming which week, everything else. But each their own, however you want to run a session is really up to you, and it's what works for you and your group. I like the rules that they're in here. I couldn't work to it. So I just no, it's horrible. Just because my brain needs organization and order. Weekly at the end of a session, I say to my players, what's the plan for next week? Because I want to be planning just a couple of things, because I've got jobs, I've got now this YouTube channel to run. I don't want and Shadowdark does allow you to do it very well, because it has got the hex crawl rules. But I kind of like the randomness of hex crawls, but I also like the control of really knowing what the next encounters are, because I like to build it into a larger ongoing story, if that makes sense. But this basically says, don't worry about that. If you don't want to, just relax, play, have fun. I'm fully behind it for other people. And I play and stuff like this. I couldn't run a game or world like it. But the quest ideas are quite good. So it talks about mini dungeons here down the right hand side of the page. So mini dungeons, rooms 5 to 10 rooms. So dungeons 20 plus rooms, and then get the players to go on hunts, enemy bases, rescue missions, explorations, or look for relics. So it's a good idea session and nice and relaxed for new games masters. And then just some more details here about new players. So if a character, everyone starts at first player. If anyone dies, they come back at first player. Shopping is going to be difficult because there aren't shops and merchants out there where players can just instantly go and find something. Traveling, as they're traveling around, so the more hexes they go over, the more chance there is that they will come up with a random encounter. I do like this rule on sharing or not being able to share. And this basically says if the player or the player's character isn't in the session, no one can use their equipment. You can only borrow and share across the two people's equipment. Okay, so some people will like that. I don't. I like it's in the book, but I couldn't run with random people just turning up on a weekly basis, not knowing what's going on. Okay, so we've then got On the Borderlands, which is an introductory adventure for first level characters. And this is just a really simple hex crawl, which is, it's really much designed for starting games masters and really starting players. So you can go and pick up a copy of Shadowdark, and then you buy Borderlands and you're away. And I think this is why this section and then the next couple of sections, the adventures are why this book is platinum compared to the other books in the series. And I'm not saying that book is any better or worse than the other books in the series, but I think it's because it just teaches people about hex crawling, gives an idea of, because if you say to someone, we're going to do a hex crawl, most people will go, I don't know what it is. I don't know how to run it. Shadowdark gives the crawl rule book gives you an idea. This nice and simply fully explains it. It's mapped out. It gives the players a player hook, a reason to go from where they are to the castle, okay, and then on to the cave, which is the second part of the adventure. I'm scrolling the wrong way. It then nice simply breaks down the different henchmen they're going to attack, the main overall villain, the villain's pet to make it a little bit more interesting, and the villain's motivation. It will then nicely explain rosters, how the crawling works, some tips for the games master really, and some random encounters, just to sort of the random encounters sort of pull back, because this is what a good hex crawl should do. It should pull back to the the main bad guy area you're heading to. And most of the Shadowdark adventures that I've read, especially ones that I've put the camera on and reviewed, the random encounters really do link back, because you don't want the hex crawls just to not link to anything. Okay, we then got the map of the keep itself, which, as you can imagine, at a certain point the players might want to take over this if they succeed in what they need to do. And these maps are all included for the VTT maps when you buy it on DriveThruRPG. The map itself will then take over to the caverns of cows, or I think it's cows, I don't know, not sure. But this then is a sort of epic faction-led dungeon crawl, which details the sort of history in here, the conflict that's coming on. So you've got 8 factions in here, which the players need to either work for or against. They may need to join sides with some of them to help move other people out. So it sort of explains the motivation of the reasons why they need to get into the cave, okay? And it's a nice, easy place to defend. The cave entrance itself, there are multiple entrances in there. Some of them have got different. Is it 6? I think I'll get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different ways in. 7 different ways in, yeah, because H isn't a way in. As detailed by the map here as well. Okay, and depending on where they go in, will determine which faction they interact with, and how they interact with that faction might determine how they then links to other factions in the sort of dungeons itself. And as you can see, it's sort of separated out gnolls. So we've got gnolls, orcs, deep ones, owlbears, lizard folk, gnolls over here, zombies here, and then cultists down here. Okay, and as you'd imagine, all the locations are sort of easily numbered, nicely identified. Easily then shows you each of the entrances and where you go in off the map. Again, these maps are included in the VTT that's included when you buy it. And then it will just explain sort of each of the sections are numbered up, as you can see here. They will give you the random encounters that are going on, and it will previously have covered a little bit of the motivation of each of the factions and some of the things the players can or can't do, as well as some of the puzzles and stuff that's going on. It's a really good idea. Really reminds me of, I ran the Dungeons of Drakkenheim campaign for a year and a half of my life, somewhere around there. And that very much had that feeling. Well, this had that feeling of it, where I think it was maybe 5 or 6 factions. I can't quite remember now, but I think I want to go with 5. But they had to work with some, because to get to the objective, they realised you can't do it on your own. And this dungeon crawl very much has that feel. It's completely different to the Drakkenheim campaign, but that feeling where if the players go into this massive dungeon, as you can see, it's huge, and they plan to do it by themselves, they're going to die. So it will quickly become apparent that they need to work with 1, 2, 3, 4 of them, maybe, and then because as one of the factions dies, the next nearest faction then will just flood into the area of that's vacant, because that's what happens. It's if a town dies technically, then over time the town just gets larger. The other town gets larger and takes over. It's a good hex crawl. Reason to get to the castle, reason to get to the caves is it's a good starting place for players. Okay, and then as with the rest of them, the book is then going to close down with a teaser here, I should say, for Letters from the Dark Volume 5, How to Pay. You sold your soul to a devil, now it's time to steal it back. This book is going to cover a mega dungeon spanning the 9 circles of hell. Sounds good. Contracts, rules for making deals with devils. Diabolist, a new class. So we're back to classes. This is missing classes, missing monsters. I do miss that from this book. That serves as an intermediary between mortals and fiends. And then new devils, including Crocodilian Anguar, the Screeching Murmur, and 9 archdevils to battle or bargain with. So 9 archdevils, 9 circles of hell. Do you think each of those archdevils are going to be in each of the areas of hell? I think so. We'll find out when I get to watch that. And obviously, if you want to watch me review that as well, please do like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Okay, so Mercenaries, final thoughts. Do I like it? Yes. I do. I can see why. I think I covered it while we were talking about it during the video. I think I can see why this is probably the most popular, because it is naturally the one that a starting games master should pick up. 1, 2, and 3, you're going to need a little bit of experience on how to play the game. Well, you can't run 1, volume 1, because that was a 5th level. And I wouldn't start, as an experienced games master with a 5th level dungeon and 5th level players. You're just asking for a hiding. Start with 1st level players, 1st level dungeon. Slowly catch your monkey, as they say. So this has got it in spades. It's just a really, really good starting book for games masters. The Hireling rules, I like that. I do really like the fact, because old school, so AD&D, I remember there was a big thing. Deck of Many Things was a massive... It was newly out around then. It might have been from the White Book, 1st edition. I don't know, because I never played it. But there was rules for hirelings in AD&D, and one of the cards on the Deck of Many Things actually gave you a mercenary that went around with you. And one of the players actually ended up with a mercenary that was more powerful than everyone in the party. And this can happen. It's going to cost the players, because if you are going to take the hireling, take the mercenary, and you randomly roll, let's say you do randomly roll here the 5th level person, and you just happen to have the 300 gold up front, he's going to stick around in the party, and he's going to murder everything if you're running a 1st or maybe 2nd or 3rd level adventure, which it's going to be quite interesting. I like it. I do like mercenary rules. The keeps, nice and simple. I've been playing. I've played Forbidden Lands for a while, and that very much felt tedious to me, because this is very much Forbidden Lands. In a more condensed book. Go and find your keep. You got some hex crawls, starting play. It's that sort of thing. But what you don't need to do is go and find 30 pieces of wood, 8 pieces of iron, 19 pieces, 19 liters of water. Oh, we need some nail, whatever it may be. And that was just... I do a lot of accounting in my day job. I don't want to be doing accounting and, having to worry about the amount of stock that we've got in a role-playing game. This, all you need is gold. All you need, gold and time. Gold and time is all you're going to need. It's really, really simplified and condensed. And, this does read to me like it's not the main rule. I would make it the main rule. Give the players the XP if they're spending gold, because it encourages them to actually then You know, make their fortress really good, defend it well, you know, put a tavern in there. It means you can bring other adventurers in, you can bring mercenaries in, you can give them more hooks to actually, you know, and do rumours to get them out and going out adventuring. GM philosophy, not for me. This section is just not for me. And I couldn't run it. Like, again, it's really good for new games masters as just a way to relax into playing sessions. We've then got the basic hex crawl. I like it because it's, when you say hex crawl, people don't really know what a hex crawl is unless you've played one. You know what you know, and if you don't know something, that's because no one's ever told you, or you've never learnt it, or you've never asked. So this is a nice, simple way to do a hex crawl and do it. That you've then got a keep to attack and start from, and finally you've got this really wonderful cavern that is going to teach players that not every encounter should be a combat encounter. You're going to have to learn to do socializing and social encounters to survive that dungeon. And if you don't, you're going to roll a new character. And the rules already said you're going to roll a new character, you're going back to level 1. So if everyone else is 3rd level and you ran your mouth ran your sword before you even started engaging with your mouth, you're going to be at 1st level. But you might have even done a party wipe and then everyone's starting again. It's a good book. It is a good book, Chris. They're all good books. I said this at the end of the 3rd one. We've got to find a dud. Everyone writes a dud. Eventually, there'll be a bad book. But the first 4, absolute. I think. Am I still thumbs up? I'm definitely thumbs up on this one. Well done. Deeply recommend this. If you're an experienced games master, maybe you could skip it because there aren't any new rules. However, if you want your players to have mercenaries, hirelings, or create a fort or base of their own, you're going to need the book. If you've enjoyed this video, please like, share, subscribe to the channel. I've got me on Discord, Facebook, X. Come and find me on any of the social places. Chat to me, ask me any questions. I'm always happy. And like I said earlier on in the video, if there is a Shadowdark book that I haven't discussed yet, by all means, just drop it down in the comments of the video, and chances are I'll go and buy it, review it, and throw it up on the channel. Well, not throw it up, but you know what I mean. So I can take a look, and you can take a look as well. Thank you for watching. See you on the next video.